From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and privilege on this happy occasion to welcome you here. I'm the Librarian of Congress, Jim Billington, and it's great to see you all gathered this morning to kick off our 8th annual National Book Festival. We have a great deal in store for you. There's a great deal in store for you, and we have more than 70 authors and illustrators in 9 topic pavilions. We'll be reading from their works, signing books, and there are many other activities all day for kids and families and lovers of reading and everybody of all ages with all tastes. We've also brought back our popular Pavilion of the States, and I have literally hundreds of volunteers wearing these National Book Festival t-shirts who stand ready to assist you and answer any questions you have as the day progresses. You can also visit our own Library of Congress Pavilion, where we're giving you a sneak preview of our new Knowledge Quest game in the Jefferson Building and of the amazing UNESCO-endorsed World Digital Library, which will bring you access to some of the great treasures of some of the other great libraries of the world, presented in 7 different languages. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a special honor to be able to introduce to you this morning the woman who not only conceived this concept of a National Book Festival 8 years ago, but has hosted it with the Library of Congress ever since. And she's here today as an author in her own right. Our First Lady, Laura Bush, is joined today by her daughter and co-author, Jenna Bush Hager. Laura Bush has been actively involved in issues of national and global concern, with a particular emphasis on education, healthcare, and human rights. She serves as Honorary Ambassador for the United Nations Literacy Decade, leads the President's Helping America's Youth Initiative, and convened the White House Summit on Early Childhood Cognitive Development. She's a trained librarian with extraordinary dedication, a master's degree in library science, a teacher in the Dallas and Houston public schools, is passionate about the importance and the pleasures of reading. Jenna Bush Hager shares her mother's love of reading and teaching. After graduating from the University of Texas at Austin, she taught in Washington, D.C., more recently in Baltimore. Her first book, #1 New York Times best-selling Anna's Story, A Journey of Hope, is based on her work with UNICEF. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jenna Bush Hager, the co-author of Read All About It, and ladies and gentlemen, also her co-author, the founder of this festival, the guardian angel of reading in America, the reader-in-chief of the United States of America, Laura Bush.
Thank you so much, Dr. Okay, we have to move our chairs close together. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much. Thank you for coming to the National Book Festival. Thank you also for coming out to listen to Jenna and me. Jenna and I had a really wonderful time writing this book, Read All About It. It's based on true stories that we used to tell each other about children that we taught. I
wonder if this microphone's off.
I think it's not off.
Sorry, we don't want to make... I'm not sure if my microphone's on. I don't think so. Okay.
Okay.
We have a little bit of technical difficulties.
We're trying to turn our microphones on. Can we do it?
Can anybody? Yes. Okay.
Can you hear us now?
Is it better? Okay.
I think this microphone needs to be turned off, if we know how. How is it now?
Better? You can hear us? Okay.
Okay. Now can you hear me?
Okay. Not really? We were hoping some of the kids would be sitting up at front so they could see the pictures.
Do some kids want to come
So
up?
maybe if we can have any of the kids come sit up here so they can see the pictures. We might get in trouble with security, but we're sure they're safe. You guys can come sit up here so you can see your, come on up here. Sit next to Batman.
Should we move our chairs up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, we're gonna
That's
get a
more
little
like
bit
it.
closer.
That's more like it.
We're glad Batman came.
Yeah. Batman's even here. And Spider-Man. Sorry we left you out. Okay.
Jenna and I decided to write this book together because we had told stories to each other about children that we taught. When Barbara and Jenna were little, they always wanted to hear stories about the students that I taught, and I would tell the same stories over and over. And then when Jenna grew up and became a teacher, I wanted to also hear stories about her class and her students and what they did that was funny or fun. And so this book is actually based on a real Tyrone that I had. I taught him when he was in the 2nd grade, but I first met him.
Can you hear her? Mom, your microphone's not working.
Is it off here?
Can anybody help us with the microphones?
They can't
Please.
hear you up there.
No, you can hear me, right?
Wait, come see if this is turned on.
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. See if I'm turned off.
You're on. It's just
Okay.
go ahead and sit down.
Okay, good. Now, can you hear better now?
No, I don't think so.
They said, look if it's off here.
No, it's on. You're definitely on.
Okay. It's on.
Can you hear her better?
Can you hear now, everybody?
I don't think so.
Still doesn't sound like it's on.
Can we just get her a handheld?
Yeah, let's have that. Sorry, everybody.
Hello? Is this better? Can y'all hear loud?
Okay.
Here, I'll hold it.
Okay. Well, I don't think it'll reach.
I've got it now. Is that better?
Technology. Okay.
So anyway, there was a real Tyrone that I taught, and this was the story that Jenna and Barbara liked to hear the most. I first met Tyrone when he was in the 1st grade, and his 4th grade brother was in my class. And Tyrone, who didn't really know how to be a student or what to do at school, would sneak into my class when I had his 4th grade brother in the class, and he would creep along behind the desk and then spring up like this and yell as loud as he could and scare the whole class, who would turn around to look at Tyrone.
What she may not say, we may just have to pass this back and forth. What she may not say to you, but what she told us as little kids is that he didn't only scare the whole class, but as a, how old were you, 24? 22-year-old teacher, he also scared her. So in the middle of her lesson, she would, Tyrone, go back to your class.
And then, of course, the very next year, I moved down to teach 2nd grade, and I get my roster when I start to school in Houston, and there's Tyrone's name on it. So I have a whole year with him, but he did learn how to be a student and learned what to do in school, and he actually ended up being a lot of fun as a student. So this book was written especially with him in mind, and with all those little boys who would rather do anything than listen to a story, because they'd rather be lying on the reading carpet and launching a spaceship, or
dressed in a Batman costume or in a Spider-Man costume. And as I went on, after we listened, my sister and I listened to these stories of that my mom told of her students. We both were fascinated at the idea of being a teacher and captivating that many students and changing kids' lives. So I went on to teach, and I had boys just like Tyrone, who I would try as hard as I could to say, please stop lying on the ground or stop jumping around. But really, boys have to jump and they have to lie on the ground. But they also can find, like a lot of girls do, the love of books. And we saw that with our students who, as soon as you give them something on skateboards or video games or graphic novels or Batman, they too can fall in love with stories. So we were so inspired by Tyrone and other kids like him that we decided we should write about what we know, and I think what we know are kids and books.
That's right. So we'll read all about it now, and then we can answer questions from anybody. And we might even want to ask some questions of the kids, like what your favorite books are. You ready, Jenna?
I guess.
Okay.
Read all about it. Good Day Elementary School. I'm Tyrone Brown, and I rule the school. I'm a professional student and class clown. Let me introduce you to my pals. The kid genius in the glasses is Edmund. Jane is the girl with legs like branches. And this is my best friend, Big D. We always keep our class in line. And kids, can you see their class? Does it look like that's a straight line? Does it look like it's a straight line? No. That's one of the things we loved about Denise Brunkus, that even though Tyrone thinks he keeps his class in line, maybe he doesn't. And that's Miss Libro, our homeroom teacher. She's all right, but we don't exactly see eye to eye.
Tyrone, what's your favorite book? I told her books are so last year. It's not that I despise books. I just don't prefer them. I like playing freeze tag with my friends and catch with my dad and helping my mom pull the pesky weeds from the front yard. These things are real. As I told you earlier, I rule the school. I love watching Mr. Lumsquit scratch his head in awe when I solve the math problem of the day every day. Miss Toadskin thinks she can gross us out with her science experiments, but I live for that stuff. And of course, I'm king of the monkey bars. I'm everywhere. Well, everywhere except for one place.
Miss Libro always says, Tyrone, the library is a wonderful place. You'll never know who you're gonna meet when you look in a book. I say, the library is a stinky place. All I'll meet there are stinky pages. Every day after lunch, Miss Libro reads to us. I sit in the back and use this time more wisely.
Can you see what he's doing in the back?
He's coloring on his shoe. But one day, everything changed.
Miss Libro was reading a book about an astronaut who which gave me the idea to create a spaceship that I sent orbiting into the chalkboard. Tyrone, please save the spaceship for science class and listen. Everyone loves this book, said Miss Libro. I looked around the classroom. Miss Libro was right. No one, not even Jane, had witnessed the launch of Spaceship Tyrone. So I listened, and the strangest thing happened. I actually liked the story, and then my whole world turned upside down.
On Halloween, Miss Libro was reading us a spooky tale about a ghost named Jasper, when Jasper, a real ghost, appeared and said, "Boo, do you have a pencil sharpener?"
Characters started appearing regularly. During a story about our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin stepped into our classroom flying a kite. Hey, class, call me Benji.
On Valentine's Day, Miss Libro was reading us a fairy tale. Just as the prince was about to save the princess, a fire-breathing dragon flew in the window.
Does Miss Libro see the dragon?
Can you tell?
She's looking at the book, isn't she? In the spring, Miss Libro began reading from a chapter book about a pig. She had barely finished the first chapter when a pudgy pig sat down next to me on the reading carpet. At first, we didn't want him in our classroom. He was dirty and disorganized. He ate the most grotesque combination of leftover school lunches.
But as the weeks went by, we really fell in love with that butterball. He was witty and kind. Jane taught him manners, and he began to eat like a proper gentleman. And he took over my role as the class clown. His jokes were hilarious. What does a family of pigs do at an all-you-can-eat buffet? Pig out! And then a terrible thing happened, a real crime.
It was a rainy Monday when Miss Libro finished the chapter book. As she closed the book for the final time, the pig disappeared and didn't come back. The whole class was in hysterics. We loved our little porker. When recess came, I knew what had to be done.
Don't worry, this pig napping is just the case for Tyrone and his posse, I said. Big D, Edmund, Jane, let's go. We'll solve this case if it's the last thing we ever do. Jane thought he was in the cafeteria. Hurry, Miss Gravy will cook anything she can get her hands on. And we love how our illustrator drew this picture of the cafeteria lady. What does the cafeteria lady look like she's stirring? Can you see? What? Worms.
But luckily for the pig, we were having spaghetti for lunch. And then look how nice the cafeteria lady looks. I haven't seen him, but he would be tasty for next week's breakfast. Edmund thought he had a lead. Those oinks coming from Miss Tonedeaf's room must be our pig.
But no, it was just the kindergarten class singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And we also love, look at the kindergarten class, how she drew, the illustrator really is genius, and she drew the group of kindergartners that kind of look like they have snouts, just like little piglets.
We were about to give up hope when Big D had a breakthrough in the case. I've got it. I bet Coach Smith has recruited him for the football team. He'd be great at defense. But again, there were no leads. Coach Smith said he hadn't seen a pig anywhere. Recess was almost over, and there was still no sign of our pig. Miss Libro, we searched for our pig everywhere, and we still haven't solved the case. Are you sure you've looked everywhere? Everywhere, that was it. Of course we hadn't been everywhere. There was one place we hadn't looked. I grabbed my friends, and we were off to save our pig.
I boldly went where I had never gone before, and there they all were. Benjamin Franklin, Jasper, the ghost, the dragon, and in the middle of the room was our pig. Take it from me, Tyrone. Oh, I thought I had it memorized. And then I had the most brilliant idea ever. Miss Libro, let's read here in the library. Take it from me, Tyrone. You never know who you're going to meet when you look in a book. So we want you to be able to ask questions because we don't know really what you're interested in, but we do have some secrets to tell the kids about the process of writing a children's book. Because how many of you want to write books when you get older? 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone? It looks like almost everyone, and you all can. There's some secrets to it, though. Do you want to hear the secrets? Do you want to hear the secrets? Okay. One secret we have, and what's really fun, is that we got to work with our illustrator, and a lot of times illustrators and authors never meet because sometimes artistic heads butt. But luckily, we really wanted to meet Denise because we thought she was so fantastic, and we met with her several times in person, and we got to lay out our words with her illustrations. And and it was really cool to see the prose get even more emphasis and become much more hilarious after she illustrated it in such a creative way. And one of the things that,
One of the really fun things when you put a book together is you can put some secrets in of your own. And one thing we did is we put in the room numbers some numbers that were really important to us. And so you know I am a librarian. That's what I did for a job. So this is me looking up at the library, and guess what the room number of the library is? It's 114, which is my birthday, 11/4, November 4th.
And another secret, and this may not be so secret, but I love food. My sister, my twin sister, who's born as my twin on the same day, we both love food. So we decided that if she got the library, we got the cafeteria. So we're 11/25. That's our birthday, November 25th. Somebody else.
And then, guess who got the gym? The daddy did, the president. See the score there, 7-6? That's his birthday, July 6th. So that was really fun.
Tell about the rules. And then we had a lot of fun working together in a creative way. That's something that, a lot of mother and daughters don't get the chance to do. I'm sure you're thinking, that'd be cool to work with my mom, but would she just boss me around the whole time? And the truth is, yes. She does. But it's fun to hear her creative ideas, and one of the things that she came up with that I think is really brilliant, and I hear a lot of kids say that my favorite part is to read the rules. And she thought that she would come up with the standard class rules or expectations, which as a teacher every class should have. They should never be negative. And she came up with 3, and then as these characters started appearing, the rules would change. So here it's respect yourself, respect others, always raise your hand, and follow all directions. Those are the standard rules. And then after Tyrone throws the airplane, it says no paper airplanes. After the ghost, it says sharpen all pencils before class. And fly kites only on the playground, because of Benjamin Franklin. And also with Benjamin Franklin, we had already written him as a character, and then we thought we were trying to sequence out when the characters would appear, and we thought, if only Benjamin Franklin's birthday was in January. And we looked it up, and it was. It seemed like writing this book just happened really organically. The other thing that's fun, especially for kids, is the book list. We tried to pick our favorite books that you'd be reading in the beginning of the year and in the middle of the year and the end of the year. And we loved how the structure of the book, the plot of the book went over the entire school year, and how Denise changed the appearance of the classroom with the seasons. So during Valentine's Day, there are hearts all over the classroom.
And once the teacher starts reading about the pig to them, do you want to hear what books the Read All About It book list says? The other books that you could read about a pig are If You Give a Pig a Pancake. You all know that one? Olivia and Charlotte's Web.
And in fact, also, the whole idea of books coming in live from students was based on one of my mom's first class. And you may want to tell this story since you were there, but she was reading Charlotte's Web to her class, so that's sort of where the pig comes from, based on a real character of one of the greatest books that I think, we can all agree that one of the greatest children's books. And as she started to read Charlotte's Web,
my children in my class, this was a 4th grade class in Dallas, and it was the very first year I taught, and they would start to pretend that Charlotte and Wilbur were in our room. So even after I'd finished reading the story for the day, they would pretend that Charlotte was up in the door and she had a web up there, and Wilbur was sitting over here in the floor. And so all day we'd go on and pretend that Charlotte and Wilbur were there, even when we were doing math or some other subject. So that's where we really got the idea of these characters coming so alive for these kids and read all about it that they actually see them and think they're really in the room.
because we all know that when we read a book we love, the characters seem like they're real, whether it's a children's book or as adults. I know when I'm finishing a great book, I just don't want to close it because those characters have become such a part of me. So now we want to ask the kids to either ask us a question or maybe we can ask you some questions. So do any of the kids have a question? I see a little reporter down there. Do you have a question? That's Caitlin.
Caitlin is a reporter for Weekly Reader.
For Weekly Reader. Do you have a question? Who inspired you to write the book? Well, I think all of our students, especially, and the girls may not want to hear this, but our more rambunctious boy students who have a harder time relating with some books. But then once they do, it's just, the most satisfying moment when they find something that they can relate with. But all of our students. Yes?
She asked how long it took us to write a book, and really it took us almost a lifetime, if you can imagine. We talked about these stories for years, from when Jenna was a little girl. And we didn't realize all the time that we were talking about these stories that we would one day put them in a book, but we did. And so once we really sat down and started to write the book, it didn't take that long because we had all this idea already from the children we had taught other times. The fun part of putting the book together was doing things like the rules list or the favorite books to read list, and then working with our illustrator, Denise Brunkus. You may know the Junie B. Jones books, but Denise Brunkus is the illustrator for Junie B. Jones. So she's a very famous illustrator.
I just pointed. Wait, what'd you say? One more time. Well, we got the idea from stories that we talked about, but I think also as young writers, when you go home and you have your own spiral, write about what interests you. Sometimes at school, and I'm a teacher, so I know, you get assignments where you have to write something. But as long as you're writing about topics that interest you and topics that you know, then you're going to write a much more interesting paper. So for us, we wanted to write about what we thought we knew, which we hope we know, which is children and books. And so that's where we got the idea. Yes? Well, hold on, yes? Did we still want to write it? Yeah, we still want to write it even though they inspired us.
Did you have a question?
What? Go ahead, ask again. Oh, what's your favorite book?
What's your favorite book? Oh, mine. Is that what he said? Oh, good. Great. Thank you. That's terrific. I have a million favorite books. When you're a librarian, you have so many favorite books. Books that are funny that you like to read. But the books that I like to think about are the books that I used to read to Jenna and Barbara and that their daddy used to read to them when they were little, like Hop on Pop. You know the Dr. Seuss book, Hop on Pop? And when their father would read it to them, they would take it literally and they would jump on him while he was reading it.
I like so many books. I'm teaching right now, so if any of you are sixth graders, Bud Not Buddy, which is a great book. They're having a lot of fun reading it, and since I'm teaching it now, it's easy to say that it's my favorite because we've discussed it and discussed it and discussed it, and they have their project papers and tests next week, so we're almost done. Okay, we're gone over time. We have a sign. I don't think it's like football. I think that means you have to stop, but I feel like we should answer one more question. Yes. The teachers definitely have inspired me. I went back to my middle school with one book that I wrote, Honest Story, and my writing teacher, who was the first teacher that said, wow, if you keep working, maybe you have something. She's still there. And I noticed when I said her name, all the kids' faces lit up. And I think teachers that make kids' faces light up really, are very underrated in our culture, and we need to all of you should go and give your teachers a big hug on Monday.
The teacher that inspired me the most was my second grade teacher. I loved her so much I wanted to be just like her. So I decided to be a teacher when I was in the second grade. And she just died. I stayed friends with her for the rest of my life and the rest of her life. And so that was a really wonderful relationship to get to have. Okay, everybody, thank you all so much. We're going to go out to the signing tent. Thank you. Bye. Bye, Batman.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.